Hey guys, you're watching TechEdit. I'm Basil and this is the Xiaomi Mix Fold 4. It just arrived today and I thought rather than wait for a full review, I'd give you some insights as to what it's like to use in the West, show you the unboxing experience as well. Interestingly, I got the Xiaomi Fiber Composite version, which is the lightest of all of them. The glass back has a slightly heavier weight to it, so that's really cool. And it has an intricate pattern. I can compare it to the Composite Fiber Mix Fold 3, and also I'll give you some more in-depth first impressions, because when I first got my hands on the Mix Fold 4 I only had 1 hour with it. I've had considerably longer with this thing, so I'll dive into all that in a lot of detail in a second. But before I do, a quick shout out to Surfshark. Thank you for sponsoring this video. Here are some experiences I had with Surfshark when I first got my hands on this. I travel a lot with work, so being able to access my information securely is really important. And specifically now, I'm in China and I really struggled with my pre-existing VPN, like the biggest VPN brand in the world, to get online. But Surfshark helped me out. I was able to get online securely with no issues. And what's nice about the Surfshark app is that it gives you updates and keeps you informed as to what the VPN is doing. So while I'm in China, it tells me that there are limited servers because I'm in a restricted space. My China trip's just one example, but if you want private, secure browsing wherever you are, check out Surfshark. If you use the code TechEdit, you'll also get an extra 4 months on a 12 or 24-month plan. Back to the Mix Fold 4, and unboxing this phone and unboxing any foldable is a little bit more special than unboxing a standard phone. It's got a larger box for starters, but also there tends to be a few more things in the box. This one didn't have that much. The main thing of note was a case, but you do have a little VIP card on the front. The phone itself is all sealed up and unfolded, and pick it up and it just feels so beautifully, wonderfully light. Underneath the phone is where you'll see the box with the case, the charger, and the USB-C to USB-A cable. It's got 67-watt fast charging, and obviously this being a China import, it's going to come with a Chinese plug. Now the case is interesting because when I first saw it I was a little bit disappointed. This case didn't have a kickstand like the Mix Fold 3 case, the Honor Magic V2 case, but then I put it on and I realized what Xiaomi's doing. Xiaomi made a case that feels like you don't have a case on it. A kickstand would have added extra thickness. Also, another thing I noticed when I put the case on it and picked it up, closed the phone, the side of this version, the composite fiber one, has an almost Kevlar pattern to it, and it looks so good, but it also feels a little bit more textured than I was expecting to, and I really like that. So that's been an incredibly quick unboxing of the Xiaomi Mix Fold 4, but I wanted to get into my impressions of this phone quickly because I'm guessing that's why a lot of you guys are here. So the first thing, I commented on this when I first got my hands on it, the glossy sides give it a similar feel to the Honor Magic V2, but it is a little bit lighter, so that's incredible. Also, the glossy polished metal frame is a little bit more slippery than the new Honor Magic V3, so that is definitely something worth noting. When you put the case on it though, the case has a matte feel, so adds a little bit of grip, which is good. If you use the Xiaomi Mix Fold 3 with Xiaomi's composite material, you may remember it feeling a little bit hollow, feels a little bit plasticky. It's really good to see that Xiaomi's addressed that. This version doesn't feel any cheaper than the glass version. It feels a bit different, but it's got a really gorgeous tactility to it, kind of a little bit grippy, but the pattern has an almost Burberry-esque quality to it, and the gold accents look very nice as well. So I'm really pleasantly impressed. As someone who had the composite material Fold 3, the Fold 4 definitely has none of that hollowness, so that's awesome. The camera bump is super pronounced, but again, I like that because it suggests there's going to be a great camera. I haven't used the camera since getting it. I've literally just been setting it up and then recording this video, but it does make a really nice finger rest, left or right-handed, and it just kind of hits home how slim the body is. But it's worth noting that slim body does not take into account the camera bump, any of the measurements Xiaomi gives with regards to thickness, but the 226-gram weight obviously does, and that is really impressive with a phone, like I said, with screens this size and a hinge, but there is a compromise, and that compromise is the screen crease. It is noticeable, much more so than on the OnePlus Open, for example, which is a thicker phone. And obviously because it has squared sides, it feels considerably thicker, but it has a beautiful, almost invisible screen crease, especially to the finger when you swipe over it. The Xiaomi Mix Fold 4, however, has a very noticeable screen crease. It's similar to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, but also slightly different in the sense that Xiaomi's crease is a little bit wider and Samsung's is a little bit narrower and I'd say maybe even deeper. But they're both about as noticeable as each other, both to look at and when you're swiping over the center of the display. But to get a phone to be this thin means you're obviously going to get a compromise somewhere, and the crease does seem to be the compromise because I can't really see a compromise anywhere else. Like I said, there are bigger displays than on the competition. It's also got a vapor chamber cooling. I was playing a little bit of Wuthering Waves earlier at high graphics settings. Didn't feel like it was getting too hot, which is so good because Wuthering Waves is a little bit of a drain. In addition, this version's got 512 gig of storage. You can get it at up to 1 terabytes. This also has 16 gig of RAM. If you get the lower capacity 256 version, then you get 12 gigabytes of RAM. So that's worth noting. And if you pick up the glass options, you can pick it up in black, white, or a dark blue. But I'm really glad I got the composite material. I bought this version, by the way, from Trinity Electronics. It wasn't sent by Xiaomi, so it was imported after I saw Ben's gadget reviews. Big up Trinity. And indeed, they sent this phone very quickly. So if you are thinking of importing it, I can definitely recommend them. It's not cheap, but you do get the phone quickly and it's in great condition. Their packaging is also very, very secure. So that's great. But if you are thinking of importing it, you might like to know what it's like to set up, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. Setting up the Mix Fold 4 initially is very simple. Select your language, connect to a Wi-Fi network, set up your PIN, and choose what services you agree to and don't. Once done though, and you're in the UI of HyperOS from Xiaomi, and the Chinese version specifically, you're not going to see a Google Play Store. You're going to see loads of apps with Chinese text, but HyperOS makes it very easy to get rid of all of them. Simply pinch your screen and check all the ones you want to uninstall. You can even dive into folders, tap the trash can, and they're uninstalled. So that's really cool. I wish Google adopted that multi-app checking in stock Android. One thing about HyperOS I do like, even though there are others I don't. On to actually getting Google on here, and it couldn't be simpler. You just want to open a browser. Actually, it could be simpler because when you open a browser and come to type URL, you're going to see the keyboard isn't in English, but tap the button on screen to select different keyboard layouts. Select the one that says EN, and then you can switch the keyboard to English. And this is a temporary fix until we install Google Keyboard, which we will do very soon. But first, the Play Store. In the Mi browser, go to google.com and search for the Google Play APK. Once you've found APK Mirror or another trusted source, download the APK. And you'll want to make sure you don't download a bundle because there's no pre-installed software to be able to process that. You'll download the latest APK file. Once installed, you'll have to agree to grant permissions to the browser to install apps, etc. And there is a little bit of Chinese, but you should figure out your way through it or just follow my on-screen instructions. The Google Play Store is installed and it really is that simple. Sign into it with your Gmail account and you're laughing. What you can now do is first of all install the keyboard, and in order to do that you have to search the Google Play Store for the keyboard, enable the keyboard within the settings. It will prompt you into the right places. I disabled all of the pre-installed keyboards, so I just have the Google keyboard so nothing else switches out, and then everything else is a very, very familiar process. Install all your Google apps, YouTube, Gmail, Google Maps, Google Drive, Google Docs, etc. Whatever you want, or don't. Now, when I used to get phones from China, I always tried to install Google Messages and the Google Phone app, but now I don't even bother. The reason I used to try to is because I wanted to make this whole phone Googleified, but if you do try, you'll probably miss notifications, whether it's text messages or calls, because you have to enable so many permissions and then the permissions can reset. It's really frustrating, but Xiaomi's Phone and Messages app is actually great. It does the job just fine. There are always going to be compromises when you get an international phone, specifically a Chinese phone. And I'll talk about some more in more detail in a bit. But I would say the first thing you have to be okay with is no Google Messages and no Google Phone. You can have Google Contacts, however. So once you're okay with that, you can decide whether or not you want App Vault. That's the screen to the left of your home screen. You can disable it by pinching out on your home screen, selecting Settings, then More, and disabling App Vault. Or you can customize App Vault if you're okay with a little bit of Chinese popping up here and there. It's also worth noting the phone's going to search the internet far and wide, but specifically Chinese internet if you do a search within the phone. So you may want to get rid of all the search options. So whether that's searching for an app with a swipe up or the search bar that is on your home screen by default. And you can do that again in that same menu. So pinch out, tap Settings, tap More. I actually leave that in because I don't mind a little Chinese text here or there. And I like being able to search for my apps once I've put them in folders if I need quick access to them. Now, while I haven't tried Android Auto with this phone, I have set up a credit card in Google Wallet, so I can confirm that works, which is a great start. Android Auto doesn't work on my Oppo Find X7 Ultra, for example, but I've heard mixed reports on the Mix Fold 4, so watch this space and I'll have a confirmation of that for my full review. If you have apps like Gmail, WhatsApp, where you're going to probably want instantaneous notifications, your best bet is to dive into the settings of each app and disable battery optimizations and also enable the permissions that look relevant, because you're realistically gonna have delayed incoming notifications for all your third-party apps. And again, that's just another compromise you're gonna have to be okay with an imported phone. So if you want ultimate convenience, you're prepared to wait for foldables like this to launch in the West, if indeed this will, but we do anticipate that Honor Magic V3 will, then you should wait. You shouldn't pick this up because there are going to be compromises. Another one, for example, you've got the Me AI assistant rather than Google Assistant. When you long press a power button, you can disable it, but you can't swap it out, or I haven't been able to. And there are going to be these little niggles here and there that are just going to feel like compromises to some people, but if you're like me, you'll actually feel pretty like, oh, I've just got really cool tech. I'm able to use a foldable with a camera that is not even available in the West, and I really want to try it out. So it kind of like fuels my fire, but for someone who wants convenience, just hang tight. Or get the Galaxy Z Fold 6 or Honor Magic V2, which is currently available, or even the Vivo X Fold 3, which is available in India, because as soon as a device launches with native Google services, that's when none of these notification issues are going to be a problem. Before I leave you, I am going to give you a few hot takes, having used this, the Honor Magic V3, the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, and the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. And I'll say anyone in the West, if you want the best after sales support, the best software experience, then the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 is the one. I know a lot of people have been bashing Samsung, but also its form factor, its footprint is smallest, and so it's actually quite comfortable if someone has smaller hands. The flat sides easier to grip when you open and close it. There's a lot to be said for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. I think the Vivo is a tech showcase. It's a tour de force of what can be put into a foldable. In-display fingerprint scanners, the camera with the biggest sensor on any foldable, impressive, really, really beautiful phone. But the Xiaomi Mix Fold 4 is all about those big screens and design. The Honor Magic V3 feels like a really wonderful balance of everything. It's bigger than the Z Fold 6, its screens at least smaller than this, and I can't wait until that launches in the West, because it looks like it could potentially be the hottest foldable available on home shores this year. So I'm going to talk about the Mix Fold 4 in a lot more detail in upcoming videos, so subscribe to the channel to stay on top of everything that I do. And if you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up as well, so I know I'm going in the right direction. Thanks for watching. Bye.